Hello, you handsome little devils. I haven't worked a normal job in years. I have no boss. I have no schedule. It is terrifying and it is also liberating. I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey to building this business that I've been working in or building or doing for the last maybe 5 or 6 years. I've been working as a coach, a life coach, a sex and dating coach, helping men and women, mostly men, build the lives of abundance and joy that they've always wanted. And I want to start by talking about how incredibly beautiful it is. And this might be, or hopefully it will be, some inspiration for those of you wanting to start your own business, go your own path, forge your own path in life. I get to wake up whenever the hell I want. It is currently 7:11. 7-Eleven did not sponsor that segment, but it is 7:11 in the morning. I woke up this morning at about 6 a.m. I laid in bed for about 10 minutes listening to some music, did a little bit of meditation, got up, brushed my teeth, sat in my apartment for a little bit, looked outside, saw that it was beautiful, and I came out here to sit in this park. And this is where I get to do my work, in this beautiful park, waking up whenever the hell I want to. And I get to sit in parks or on beaches or go for walks or sit in nature and run my business. A lot of the coaching that I do, I just do via voice message. I just grab my phone and I speak into my phone and voice message all of my clients. I've sometimes taken coaching calls outside in parks or in nature. And even if I want to take my calls at home, I'm literally, you guys can't see, but my apartment, I can almost see my apartment block. It's like 2 blocks that way. I get to just go home, do some coaching, and then come back outside. A lot of the time when I'm busy coaching people, when I'm walking around recording voice messages for people, I'm out in public. And if I see a beautiful woman, I'll go and say hi. So I literally get to hit on women while coaching my clients. I get to work wherever the hell I want. I can work from cafes, from parks, from beaches. I could go to another country. Like I said, a lot of my coaching just happens from voice messages, so it doesn't even take me much effort whatsoever. I get to choose the clients that I work with. And if there's ever anyone where I feel like maybe we might have a conflict of values, or I feel like they might not be ready to change, because that will happen sometimes. Sometimes people want to give you a whole bunch of money, but it's not clear that they're ready to change. All right, guys, I moved a little bit. There was some tree trimming and stuff going on over there. So as I was saying, sometimes someone is ready to give you lots of money and ready to sign up for coaching, but they're not necessarily ready to change. And I get to politely say no to working with those people. Nothing but love for them, but I get to choose who I work with. And I think if I think that someone is not going to be a good client for me or not going to be a good match, I don't have to work with them. In other words, I get to choose who I spend my time with, not whoever I'm told to spend my time with. I have 100% creative control over the ideas on this YouTube channel, on my Spotify, on my blog. I get to choose what I put out within reason. Obviously YouTube and these platforms have, community guidelines and stuff, but I get to talk about whatever I want to talk about. I'm not on someone else's agenda. There's no corporate approval. There's no like, oh, sorry, Andy, the boss says no. I can pivot instantly. If 1 minute I want to talk about spirituality, I can. And then if the very next minute I want to talk about BDSM, I can. If I then want to talk about self-improvement in general, I can. I can do a video on literally any topic. I can take breaks whenever I want to. If I want a day off, I can. If I want to go for a hike with Molly, the woman that I've been seeing, I can. If I want to just spend a day outside, I can. If I want to take a week off, I can. And funnily enough, I haven't taken a week off in the last 6 years because that's something else that's beautiful. I genuinely like this. I get to sit down in front of all of you, talk to you. I get to coach all of my beautiful people. I get to reply to emails and jump in there and help people through that as well. I often, try and help people through emails. If they email me and tell me that they're in pain or they're struggling, I'll give them a bit of love. I like doing this stuff. I don't really want a week off. I'm probably going to have a week off at some point in my life, I'm sure. But I have a day off and then I'm like, fuck, I want to get straight back into it. To be honest, a lot of the time I don't even have a day off. I'll have a half day off. Like yesterday was supposed to be my day off. I have the day off and I get to midday and I'm like, fuck, I miss my people. I want to talk to them. And I'll just accidentally record a cheeky little piece of content, or I'll accidentally jump in there and start coaching people because I miss them. I like you guys. And so this never actually feels like work. There's a beautiful quote: the man who loves his job will never work a day in his life. And that's how I constantly feel. In other words, I get to build my life, or I get to build my schedule around my life rather than squeezing my life around a schedule. Another thing that's beautiful that I'm incredibly grateful for is it really feels like the work that I'm doing impacts people. I get to see the results of my effort. How many people work a job where they just feel like it's a stinking dead-end job and it doesn't feel like they're really making a difference? Maybe they feel like a paper pusher. Maybe they are making a difference, but it's not clear what that difference is. I see the direct results. You guys leave comments and say, hey man, here's the goals that I just achieved. Hey man, I watched this video. It really changed my mindset. Here's the action that I've taken since then. People will sometimes update me, like old coaching clients will email me like a year later and say, hey man, holy shit, I'm getting married. Here's a video from my wedding. I really just want to tell you thank you. I get to see the direct impact from the money that I'm earning and from the vibes that I'm putting out and the content I'm putting out and the energy I'm putting out into the world. I can directly see the impact from that. In other words, the projects that I'm working on or the people that I'm working with really feel meaningful. It doesn't feel like being a paper pusher or just doing busy work just to get something done. You know what I mean? It feels sort of like I'm building a mission or we're building a community rather than just punching in a clock. And in a lot of jobs, you feel like you're just sort of building someone else's dream, or it's not even clear that there is a dream. Like lots of office jobs, it's not even clear that anything is being produced that anyone is happy with. Not all office jobs, but lots of office jobs are like that. Some retail jobs can feel like that. And you're like, whose dream am I even building? Like some CEO that I'll never meet in my entire life. And even him, is he happy? I don't even know if he's happy being the CEO of this place. Is anyone here happy? And there are people there that are happy, but you can sometimes feel like I'm just here doing meaningless work. This job, I hesitate to even call it a job, this calling, this YouTube channel and my coaching in this community never feels like that. Jeez, I never wake up going like, is this worth it? It's like, what the fuck? What else would I be doing? Literally my job, again, I hesitate to call it a job. Literally my purpose or my job is to wake up and try and make as many of you happy as I possibly can. My mission in life is to try and put as many smiles on as many faces as I can before I die. That's pretty meaningful. It's also pretty damn rewarding. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the fears and the struggles that I had, because I will be honest, I had a lot of limiting beliefs around building a business, around money. I've talked about them recently. I did a video called My Guilt Around Making Money. I released that like a week ago. And because of those limiting beliefs, I hesitated a lot. I held back a lot of times. There were a lot of struggles. There were a lot of doubts and insecurities. And I'd say more than anything, a lot of imposter syndrome and feelings of not being worthy. Feelings of almost, I guess I'd say guilt. Like, am I allowed to just sit in a park and earn money? And obviously I'm doing work, like I'm coaching you guys and girls and changing your lives. But there was that thought in my head of like, oh, I'm not working hard enough. I should be struggling. I should be suffering. And at many times I would make myself suffer, or I would make this harder on me than it needed to be out of a sense of guilt. I often felt like I just didn't deserve money. I felt like I didn't deserve any of you to listen to me because I'm just some dude. You know, it's always funny to me when someone's like, oh, Andy, I love your content. I get so much out of it. It's so amazing. Like, you're doing such a great job. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I am just some dude sitting in a park or sitting at home on his computer chair talking to you guys. I'm just some dude. And yes, I've changed my life. Yes, I've gone through and done some things. I went from depressed and suicidal to living a life of abundance and joy. If I can do it, you sure as hell can too. That's a beautiful, motivating message. But many times my brain has said, but I'm just some guy. And there were many times when I sabotaged opportunities because I guess in my head, I had this thought of like, well, I've always struggled with money, so I should always struggle with money. A lot of you have that same thing when it comes to money, and definitely when it comes to relationships. A lot of you go, I feel like I'm a loser, or I'm a virgin, so therefore I'm going to self-sabotage without meaning to. But you're like, I'm a virgin. What girl would want me? Or I'm too short. What girl would want me? And then you don't try as hard, or maybe you don't try at all. And so I had some of that with money for sure. I had some like hesitations. I had this voice in my head that always sort of said, you're going to be poor. Or you're going to have money, but it's going to come at the cost of like sleepless nights and tons of stress and busting your ass just to bring in the next coaching client. You are going to have to put out so much content. At this point, I've put out 2,000 pieces of content across all the different platforms. It's probably more than that, but I had this story that I'm still in the process of letting go of. There's still little remnants of it, still, a bit there, but I definitely had this strong story of like, this has to be really hard. And so there were many nights where I struggled, and it doesn't have to be a struggle for all of you. Some of you will just start a business. Like I have some coaching clients in my coaching program right now. Like one of the guys, Alistair, he's been on the channel a few times. He's literally just fucking killing it with his business. Like he is absolutely just getting in there every day and just crushing it. He has some doubts and limiting beliefs, but like not really. Like he's not staying up every night going like, oh my God, do I deserve money? He's just getting in there and doing it. I've worked with other people, like Laz is a really good example. He's been on my channel as well, like a year or two ago. And he was earning like $20,000 a month. And he came to the coaching group to double his income. And he did. He doubled it in the first month. I gave him a bunch of advice and he doubled his income. And he just went from $20,000 to $45,000 US dollars a month. And he just did it. And I look at people like that and I'm like, holy fuck, man, I love that. That's amazing. It wasn't like that for me, but just because I struggled, I want to make it very clear that does not mean that the entrepreneur journey has to be a struggle. It might be for some of you if you have limiting beliefs like I did, if you struggle, if you have doubts, if you have insecurities, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. This is not a video where I'm talking about how fucking hard it is to build a business. No. This is a video where I'm talking about some of the stuff that I went through so that if you find yourself going through similar stuff, you'll know that that's okay, that it's not just you. So yeah, I struggled, and for a while I worked a side job. I worked in a factory, and I used to have this long commute to work that was like 2.5 hours just to get to work and then 2.5 hours back. And I loved that because I would spend every single second of that commute either on my laptop. I had this really shitty old laptop where the battery would only last for like 30 minutes. It could only hold a charge for 30 minutes. So I would coach people on the laptop. Like I just type stuff to them and coach them. And then as soon as my laptop died, I would use my phone and just type on my phone. And I had a little battery pack for my phone so it would last for long enough. And I would spend that 2.5 hours commute to work coaching people. And then the 2.5 hours on the way back home from work, I would coach people, although I would often be utterly exhausted and dead tired because I just worked in a factory or a warehouse. But it was beautiful. It paid the bills. The people there were wonderful. It allowed me to really start building the coaching. And that's how I recommend a lot of people start a business. Like you can just quit your job and go all in with the business, but that's like so much pressure. It's usually easier to just say, I'm going to keep my job. I'm going to try and work part-time if you can. Like if you can reduce your hours, that's amazing. And I'm just going to do a little bit every day after work to build my business, a little bit in the morning. Maybe on my lunch break at work, I will build a little bit. Maybe on the weekends, I will build a little bit. And I'll just do bits and pieces whenever I possibly can. And I'll build this thing from the ground up. That's generally what I recommend. In 2020, with the COVID lockdowns and all of that sort of nonsense, I lost my job, or the job shut down. We were closed down, like nobody could work. And I unintentionally went all in with the business. That was an insane struggle. That was so many sleepless nights. I burned through all my savings, and then I had to beg, borrow, and steal money. Not steal, but beg and borrow money wherever I could. I went into massive debt just to be able to like pay for rent and stuff like that. I downsized and did a whole bunch of different things. Eventually moved to a cheaper area. I moved in with Imi, like she and I moved in together to save some money. And I really went all in with the business. And the first couple of years were rough, like trying to build a sex and dating business, because back then I wasn't really doing a lot of life coaching. It was basically only sex, it wasn't even relationships. It was just how to get laid, how to go on dates, how to meet women. That was all I did. I didn't coach people on business. I didn't coach people on relationships, nothing on happiness or mental health or spirituality. It's really difficult. It's a fucking challenge, guys, to build a sex and dating business during lockdowns, when most people are afraid to even talk to each other, when most people are definitely afraid to go outside without a mask. And in my country, it was illegal to go outside without a mask. It was illegal to be like talking to people and all of that. And so it was a challenge, but that taught me something beautiful, that even during essentially like something similar to a Great Depression when it comes to my niche and the business that I was trying to build, I still got a few clients. I was still able to hustle and grind and work 50 times harder than I need to right now and bring in some people. And so if that doesn't motivate you guys, I don't know what will. I built a fucking sex and dating business during lockdowns, for fuck's sakes. You guys have no excuses. And it's funny when people say to me like, oh, my niche is too saturated and I don't think I can do it. Or, oh, I think I've missed the boat on this business. It's like, motherfucker, I built a sex and dating business during lockdowns. You can definitely build your business. No excuses. Hustle, grind, do whatever you need to do. Make sure you're not suffering too much while you do it. But you can put in the work, you can put in the effort, and you can build any business. I truly believe that. So I would sort of work every single millisecond that I could. That was the time when I wrote the massive big Tinder guide, which is on my blog. And that took me about 9 months of just basically working on it every single day. Like that thing took a lot. But yeah, I hustled, I put in the work. And during those periods or those couple of years, I felt this sense of guilt anytime I would take a break. It felt like I had to bust my ass constantly. It was a lot. It was a hell of a lot. And it got to a point where even just writing was stressful. Every little moment in time that I spent working on the business just brought in more stress of like, am I going to be able to pay the bills? Am I going to be able to do this thing? Am I going to be able to make the money that I need to make to pay the bills? And like I said, it was a struggle, but it was ultimately very worth it. And some of the turning points or some of the things that I started to do was to realize that because I had a lot of guilt and shame around money and making money and fears around like, I'm using people and like, I don't want to take too much money from people. I realized that in order to help the most amount of people, I needed to put on my own oxygen mask first. In other words, make some money, make enough money to pay the bills, and then you will be in a better position to love your clients, to love your audience, to be there for them, to help them. And so I let go of quite a lot of my sense of guilt and shame around money and making money. And I said the most effective, kind thing I could do for all these people, like the people that want my help, is to be okay myself. And so I started hustling a little bit more. I started offering discounts on my coaching. I started mentioning the coaching more. That was a struggle for me. I really struggled to mention the coaching in my content. I felt guilty every time I did, but I swallowed my pride and I got over it and I just did it anyway. And I had a couple of comments. Every now and then I'd get a comment from someone saying, oh, this guy's just pushing his coaching. Oh, here we got another grifter just trying to make money. And those comments affected me at first. They made me feel a lot of shame and guilt because that's the intention, right? When someone leaves a negative comment, they're usually trying to make you feel guilt and shame. And it worked because that guilt and shame was already inside me. And so they just triggered me. But over time, I became a little bit more graceful with those comments. I became a little bit more grateful for those comments because they reminded me of how far I'd come, because eventually I got to a point where those comments didn't affect me at all. And whenever I got those comments, I'd be grateful. I'd be like, wow, look at this. This doesn't affect me anymore. Thank you for leaving this comment, for showing me that I've come a long way, that I'm more peaceful, I'm more stoic, and I'm more accepting of what I'm doing and happy with what I'm doing. And so I started making more money. I would offer referrals to people. Like I said, I would do discounts. And I realized that I then went through this next stage where I realized that a lot of the pressure that I was putting on myself to bring in coaching clients was just even more stress. And so I moved towards a more peaceful way of doing things. You know, I just started offering the coaching to you guys and girls. And if you didn't want it, I said, that's beautiful. I'll always be here if you do want it. I stopped pressuring myself to pressure you guys, and I just started offering. And slowly over time, I became a little bit more peaceful with building this business, with building this coaching. It's always cute how many people walk like directly behind me to see what I'm doing. There's a cute old lady that just walked past me and she's looked at me a couple of times. I think people are always interested when you're sitting in a park and you have like a camera. I'm sitting right in front of a lot of people, so a lot of people are very interested. All right, let's talk about some of the rewards of doing this. Obviously, I mentioned before, I get to work wherever the fuck I want. I get to sit in a park. There's all these people in front of me. I know you can't see them, but there's all these beautiful people in front of me. Some of them walking past, some of them smiling at me when they see me sitting here recording. And some of the other rewards that I get is that clients get to tell me, or I get to hear from clients, you changed my life. That is such a beautiful thing that I will never get sick of hearing. I will never stop being grateful for. How many of us here from our customers or from our bosses, you changed my life? How many times have you guys heard that statement from someone, from any human being, including a family member or a person you're dating? How many of you have never heard the statement from someone, you changed my life? How many of you have never been told that you changed someone's life? I know that before I started all this stuff, no one told me that I changed their life. I'd never heard that sentence. I didn't know that was a sentence that you could hear. It was a crazy idea. I hear that all the time now. And that, more than anything, is the reward for building this business, for building this community, for building all of this stuff that we all have here together. Every win that I get feels like mine. It feels like I earned it. And obviously I share in those wins with you guys. Like, you guys are here for me. You guys help me. My other coaches, Imi, my ex, my friends like Cam and all of that, like all of them share in these victories as well. It's not just me achieving this by myself. I'm not some solo person out here. And by the way, I would never build a business solo. I definitely don't recommend that, guys. Let people help you. But it very much feels like all of the victories are because I put in the effort and we collectively put in the effort. There are victories, whereas a lot of jobs when you work in an office or you work for somewhere else or you work for retail, it doesn't really feel like you got many victories. It doesn't really feel like because you didn't build the company. You didn't build the building. You didn't build the office. You didn't build any of it. You're just a cog in the machine sometimes. And not to say that that's bad. A lot of you have a normal job and you love it. And so none of this is to denigrate normal jobs or say they're bad or anything. But the way that my mind works, and I guess the preferences I have, I'm someone that's a lot happier when I can build something rather than just being part of a machine. I like to be the person that's contributing, that's adding some value to the world. And not that every job doesn't add value, but some of them do feel like it's hard to see what value you're adding to the world. And it's hard to see that you're actually making much of a difference in your company. Like, a lot of you probably feel, or some of you might feel, that if you were to just not exist, if your job just didn't exist, the company would be fine. Or someone else would just replace you. And it's like, that doesn't always feel great. It feels nice to be wanted. It feels nice to be needed, I guess. It feels nice to be an integral part of something. And it definitely feels like this business that I've built is making a difference. It feels like I'm trying to say this in a nice way, maybe a humble way. If I wasn't here, if I just stopped recording content for a month, a bunch of you would email me and be like, what the fuck, bro? Where are you? And that feels nice, It feels nice. It feels like we all care about each other here. It feels like we've built something really beautiful where a lot of you in the comments will reply to each other and be there for each other. For those of you who can't afford coaching, I like that I can just jump into the comments every now and then and give you a little bit of free coaching. Like I said, people will sometimes email me and tell me that they're really struggling, and I'll just record them a voice message and give them some free coaching or some free love. I do the same on Twitter and Instagram sometimes, not always, but I try and reply to most things, even if I can just write 1 or 2 paragraphs and just be like, hey bro, you'll be okay. I promise it's okay. I'll just bang out a quick reply in like 1 or 2 minutes. I try and reply to everything. It feels like we have a very positive, uplifting, caring community here. And I think that's really wonderful. It feels like I'll just say we all care about each other. It feels like life isn't chained to a paycheck as well. I haven't even talked about that. Yes, I put in effort to bring in money, but it feels like at any point in time, I can just make more money. And part of how I do that is make more content, try and change people's lives more, reach out to all the old coaching clients I've worked with and ask if they want to do another round of coaching, reach out to everyone who applied for the coaching but didn't end up signing up, and just say, hey man, it's been a year. How have you been? Just letting you know coaching's there if you want it again. And some of them say, yeah, fuck it, man. I didn't sign up last time, but I think I'm ready. Let's do it. And so if I just put in a bit of work, I can make more money. Whereas a lot of jobs, it's like you're restricted to that wage or that salary. And if you were to put in double the work, you wouldn't get double the money. Like, it doesn't work as a numbers game in a lot of jobs. Whereas my job, I keep calling it a job. This is not a fucking job. This business, this coaching and this community, if I put in double the work, I'll just immediately make double the money, sometimes more than double the money. And so that's freaking beautiful. Knowing if I ever want more money, just put in more work, help more people. It's such an obvious value exchange. If I give more value to you guys will give me more money, and we both exchange that value. How freaking cool is that? Same as the YouTube channel. If I want more subscribers or I want more views, it's like just put in twice as much effort to the content. Do content that's twice as good, or make twice as much content. There's like various different ways of playing the numbers game. Either do more or make it twice as good. How beautiful is that? It really feels like this community that we've built is something that I get to wake up to be excited about every day. You know, I don't dread Mondays. How many of you go, oh, fucking Monday? Every time I worked a job, do you know how many motherfuckers would complain every Monday? And it's like, yeah, I get it. Monday is 1/7 of the week. Are you going to spend 1/7 of your life complaining? And like the answer is yes, a lot of people do. And then they'll bitch and moan about Tuesday too, and Wednesday and Thursday. They get excited on a Friday. They like Friday, they like Saturday. And then half the time they can't enjoy Sunday because they're like, oh, fuck, tomorrow's Monday. So like a lot of people spend half of their lives complaining about what day of the week it is. I wake up excited on a Monday. Today is Tuesday. So that's another thing. I forget what day it is sometimes. I literally use my calendar just to know what day it is because I don't dread Mondays and I'm not sitting there desperate for Saturdays and Sundays. Saturday and Sunday to me feel like just any other day. And most people are like, oh, Saturday and Sunday, I get to let loose on the weekend. I get to relax. And I'm like, oh, but I did that on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And yeah, I'll do it on Saturday and Sunday too. The only difference for me is Saturday and Sunday just has more people outside because there's more people not working. But like, how freaking beautiful would your guys' lives be if you didn't resent Mondays or complain about Mondays or feel like death? Caffeine is another thing. I don't need fucking caffeine just to wake myself up in the morning to go and do the thing that I love. Whereas a lot of people literally rely on a drug. Caffeine is a drug. People rely on a drug to fucking make themselves go somewhere that they don't want to go. I don't have that. I don't dread anything. I love talking to you guys. Like I said, half the time I will have a day off and my brain will go, but I want to talk to my people. I'll go sit in a park and I'll just talk to you guys. Yesterday was my day off and I recorded content because I miss you guys. I love you guys. This is fun. And it feels like the work is really, really, really enjoyable. This doesn't feel like a job, like I said. It feels like a hobby or something fun. And all those years of like pain that I felt, and again, you guys don't have to feel pain if you're building a business. It was just a struggle for me with the insecurities and the limiting beliefs and all of that. But all of that pain, that fear, that doubt, that insecurity, those long nights, it was worth it. I'm here to tell you it was worth it. They forged resilience, grit, self-love, humility, purpose, like all of these things. I learned all of these beautiful character traits from those years of struggling. And so I'm ultimately very grateful. Again, you guys don't have to struggle. I want to make that clear. Like building a business doesn't have to be hard. And in fact, I make sure every single one of my coaching clients who's building a business enjoys the process. And I'm like, look, I struggled for years and years and years. I'm going to teach you how to do this in a way where you don't struggle. I don't want you to be sitting there like having sleepless nights. And if you have one or two, that's fine. But like, you don't have to struggle like I did. So I make that pretty clear. I would say I've been more empathetic as well towards people. That's one of the other beautiful benefits of, you know, the time that I've spent struggling sometimes is like, okay, if someone else is going through their own insecurities or limiting beliefs or doubts or whatever, I've been there. I get it. I did a video on the channel recently called, you know, I've been where you are and this is why I help men. And definitely with business, I struggled a lot. So ultimately, I'm very grateful for the struggle because then if any of you struggle, I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. I've been there. Here's what helped me. Here's so I can be there for you. So this has taught me empathy towards you guys as well, like compassion. I feel like I can, like working my own job, I keep calling it a job. I feel like I can show up with more love in that because if I'm having a tired day, I can just take the day off. If I'm not feeling good, I can just not record content. I usually do record content anyway, but I can just not if I don't want to. And so that means every time I show up with you guys, I'm usually feeling pretty good. Every time I show up for my coaching clients, I'm feeling really good. If I ever don't want to coach my clients, I don't do this very often. I basically never really do this. But if I'm ever really having a dark day, I can just message a client and say like, hey man, can we reschedule today's call? And they'll be like, yeah, of course we can. What day? And again, I don't really ever do that. But just knowing that that option is there, that if I'm ever going through something, I don't have to even do my fucking job that day, my God, does that take the pressure off. And that means that I show up with gratitude and love and appreciation for all of you and my coaching clients, rather than resentment. Like a lot of people go into the workplace with so much resentment because they're like, oh, I don't want to fucking be here today, but I have to. It's like, first of all, you really don't. You could just take a sick day. You could quit your job. You could start a business. Like there's all these options, but I get the feeling that we feel very stuck and hopeless. Like I get that. I understand that. But yeah, it feels like I'm never hopeless. I'm never stuck. I never have to show up to work. I can just not that day if I don't want to and reschedule with that person if I ever want to. Again, it's not really something I ever do, but I can. It also feels like, or one of the rewards of building this is it feels like I'm building somewhat of a legacy, and that's something that's important to quite a lot of you. You care about what you will leave behind when you're gone. And I will leave behind a legacy of trying to help people, trying to put as many smiles on as many faces as I could before I died. Whereas a lot of jobs, like some of the jobs I worked in the past, they were beautiful. They were really nice jobs. But like 1 year after I'm gone, no one's going to remember me there. Definitely 5 years after I'm gone, no one's going to remember me. There's no legacy. It was just a retail job. It was just a factory job or a warehouse job. And I loved those jobs and I loved those people. And I was so grateful for every moment there. But there was nothing really left behind. I wasn't building anything. I was just going to work and collecting a paycheck. Whereas this feels like I'm trying to build something, or like we collectively are building something. We're building compassion. We're building a community. We care about each other. We're building a YouTube channel. We're building a Spotify podcast. We're building a blog. Like we're building something. And I think more than anything, we're building principles that I'm trying to hand over to you guys. Like be honest, be compassionate, be loving, go out there and spread love wherever you go. Try and make other people's lives better. You're on the same team as other people. They're not the enemy. Like give yourself permission to suck. It's okay if you're not perfect. Work on that self-love. Like you yourself more than any, or as much as anyone else in the universe, deserve your love and compassion. Those are ideas that stand the test of time. They've been said since the dawn of time. This is shit that Buddha and Jesus and many people before them have been saying. And those ideas will be here long after I'm gone. I hand them to you so that you can hand them to other people as well. Those ideas will live on long after we're all gone. Maybe this community will. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. Who knows? But these ideas will. I feel like I have so much freedom to chase my big visions. I get to build things. I get to build this community. I get to do books and video courses and just build something very beautiful. My success inspires other people. It's basically proof that it's possible. I say all the time, if I can do it, you sure as hell can too. And that's freaking beautiful. Like I said, get to own my time. I get to own my income. I get to own, in a way, my destiny. I'm not just like toiling away at a job. I'm building towards a goal. A lot of people at jobs don't have any sort of goal. It's just, I'm going to show up and get money. There's no goal of like getting a promotion. There's no goal of like we're building something beautiful at this company. There's no goal of like we're helping people or we're making a difference in the world. It's just I show up and I get money. And again, if any of you are happy at your job, I love that. All I want is for all of you to be happy. This video is not me shitting on jobs or saying that every job necessarily sucks and is a time sink. It's just that a lot of the jobs that I was at, as beautiful as they were and as much as I loved the people there, I wasn't necessarily building anything greater than myself. I wasn't building anything big. So yeah, all of this is really beautiful. Like I said, I feel really happy and really excited. Like I said, it wasn't always easy. I had a lot of that imposter syndrome. I had a lot of doubts of like self-worth, a lot of feelings of like, am I good enough to do this? There was a lot of like working really hard behind the scenes that a lot of you like might not have even seen. A lot of like, yeah, I just want to sum it up by saying there were so many doubts and insecurities, guys, like just so many doubts and insecurities, but ultimately it was unbelievably worth it because I get to sit in this park with all these wonderful people. Half of them are probably going to their job, walking to their job. Actually, some of these people look like they're just working their own business too. The place I live at, it's called the Gold Coast in Australia. There are a lot of people here who run their own business. And so when I go out during the daytime, I see a lot of other entrepreneurs like me. They get to work whenever the hell they want. This is like the most perfect place for me to be when it comes to building my own business because it's really inspiring. You see so many like hot little yoga girls. Like, yeah, I can literally see multiple hot girls in hot yoga pants that are probably like influencers or they sell some product or something. There's a bunch of guys walking around. They probably have their own fucking business too. It's a really beautiful place to be because a lot of people have the same mindset as me. So yeah, all of that is me saying, this whole video is me saying, if any of you want to start your own business, if you've been thinking about it, if the idea of starting a business is scary, you can just call it a side hustle, make a little bit of extra income. If that appeals to you, it can be at times a struggle. You might at times feel a bit lonely on the entrepreneur path. That's why I say get some friends around you. You're welcome to hit me up for coaching, like have some people to help you. There might be some nights of sleepless nights and doubts and can I really do this? And is my product or my service even good enough? Like, I'm not going to say that it's guaranteed to be super easy. It might be for some of you. For me, it wasn't. But what I can say is for me personally, and for all the coaching clients that I've helped build a business, it is worth it. It's absolutely unequivocally, undeniably worth it to get to sit in a park and not ever feel like you're working, to get to build something beautiful, to get to feel like your life is your own and all your dreams are your own and you're building your dream instead of someone else's. It's freaking worth it. I promise you this journey is worth it. Even if you have struggles, it's still worth it. If you want my help, like I said, I have coaching. Right now, I have a deal on my one-on-one coaching is half off. So I'll leave a link down below where you can check that out. I might not have any slots left in that, which is funny that I'm mentioning it, but I have a guy who might sign up. He's applied and we're going to jump on a call. So if you want to apply for the one-on-one, I would apply literally right this second. Like, I wouldn't leave it any longer. If that's out of your price range, we have the affordable coaching program, the Abundance Collective. I'll leave a link down below to that. That's our affordable program. We've got like 20 or so guys in there already, absolutely crushing it. So we're working on building that. So yeah, if you guys want help, coaching is down below. Or if you want to do it by yourself, I would at least get some freaking friends or something. Join the Fast Lane forums. Find some forum where there's other entrepreneurs. Do not do this journey on your own. This is like definitely not the thing I would be saying to do on your own. Do not build a business on your own. That's just like fucking impossible. No, get some help. Either hit me up for coaching, pay some other coach, pay some mentor or something, get some friends. Do not do this by yourself. But I promise that you are capable. I promise that it's worth it. Holy shit, is it worth it? As always, ladies and gentlemen, go out there, crush those goals, and have a bloody good time doing it.